Hey guys, welcome back to Collective Perspective. It's episode 76, and we're talking about the Sega Saturn. Craig, how many Saturn games you got, my guy?
I have 6 Japanese and 3 American. I used to have a really cool Sega Saturn collection, and then I needed money for when I got married. So one day I'll have a cool Sega Saturn collection again.
I got 5 American. I think I have like 1 or 2 Japanese games. I have Sakura Wars 2. That's a cool one.
Why the hell
Um,
do you have Sakura Wars?
for some reason, I was at. We're already gonna derail, I guess. I was at a convention. No, I was at a flea market like 2 years ago,
Oh,
and this dude just had like imports galore
that's cool.
at a Houston, Texas flea market. It was really weird.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like you have to be obligated to buy something like that just because it's an anomaly that is there at all.
exactly. I bought freaking. I think I spent like $20 on it. You go on eBay right now, it's like $15 free shipping. That's like the most common game, but whatever. It's like
You got ripped off at the flea market.
it was really cool. It has like 1,000 inserts, and I don't know. I feel like it's kind of historically important. I said screw it.
Japanese Saturn games are cool because they all have like special spine cards and usually more
Yeah.
than just the manual in the inside. Japanese Saturn games are pretty fire.
Today it's just going to be kind of like an overview of the Saturn collecting North American, obviously, in the year 2025. What's it going for? How many games are there? What are the 10 most expensive games? What's the average CIB price? I like doing these types of episodes, just kind of a state of the hobby type stuff. I think you guys enjoy it as well.
And Sega Saturn is like objectively just a cool console to collect for. So
Yeah, it's up there for like coolest for sure. Way cooler than GameCube.
I think we did that. Didn't we do an episode long ago about the coolest console to collect for? And I think we both were like Saturn's probably number one, like that and Neo Geo.
I think I put Neo Geo as number one, but whatever I said, I stand by it. All my answers were like, "Oh, this costs a fortune." Yeah, definitely that. You know, people
And your
that
opinion probably would still be that way. So
right. We did Dreamcast a couple months ago. How many games are there on the Dreamcast in North America?
247 or 248, depending on who you ask. I say 248. So
We were just talking about this. It's very strange. The Saturn has 248 or 249, I guess. Or no, honestly, it's 247 or 248. We'll talk about the edge case in a minute, but it's like really weird that's
that
the
was like the
same number.
exact same. Super strange.
So in Japan, there were about 1,200 games on this platform. So we missed a casual 1,000 games here in America.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Saturn sold around 9 million units, and I think like 7 million of those were in Japan. Like no one gave a shit about the Saturn here. So
And that makes it incredibly cool today. We talked about how many games we own. I would obviously love to own so many more Saturn games. I know Craig would as well. This console is known for like RPGs. I personally think more than anything is its incredible lineup of RPGs, at least here in America. Because when you go overseas, there are so many shmups on this console. Like people love their Saturn shmups. We didn't get most of them here. There was the Working Designs games. They started doing those on the Sega CD. They went through the Saturn and then eventually the PlayStation. There's 6 Working Design games here. You want to go through them, Craig?
yeah, for sure. So we got Dragon Force. We got Magic Knight Rayearth, which is a game that I love. Shining Wisdom, Iron Storm, which strangely a fairly affordable game. Not only just on the Saturn but Working Designs in general, only about $78. We got Albert Odyssey. We got Sega Ages. So not too many games, but they're all really cool, really fancy releases. They all have like foil manual artwork. They all have different disc variants, and they're all just like super super high quality releases. That is like, I don't know. It's like Working Designs. It was like they were making special editions before special editions were. I think all their games were just super uniquely packaged, and it's like they totally stick out on a shelf.
They're incredibly cool. It was a time where localization was a lot more difficult, than it is today. And it's not as simple as copying and pasting and releasing in America. There was a lot of voice acting that had to be done, and all kinds of translation efforts. It was awesome that they.
Yeah, like even in Magic Knight Rayearth, there was like source code issues, and they like reprogrammed parts of the game to make it, and that's why it was such a release here, even though it came out like year one of the Saturn in Japan, and they had like a ton of voice acting done for like all of like the diary entries in the game and stuff. It's like they went all out, especially on Magic Knight Rayearth. So
I was looking at one of them. It might have been Magic Knight Rayearth, but it was like years after everything else. Like they had already moved on to publishing stuff on PlayStation, and one of these 6 games came out really late.
It was Magic Knight Rayearth. It was the last game released on the Saturn in North America. So
Very
real
cool.
quick, we actually talked about this on another show I do recently. But the final 5 games on the Sega Saturn, just to talk about like the greatest send off for a console ever, real quick: Panzer Dragoon Saga, The House of the Dead, Burning Rangers, Shining Force 3, and Magic Knight Rayearth. Tell me that's not like the greatest 5-game send off for a console ever. What an incredible way to end things. It's incredible. It really is. I'm just like, holy shit. Like, pretty much like the 5 games that are considered the best games on the console were the 5 last games released.
That's
It's
really
crazy.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of Iron Storm. I was surprised to see it's like an $80 game.
Yeah. Nothing really to write home about, honestly. But
I thought it was interesting that Sega gave working designs like the Shining series to do Shining Wisdom. You know, Sega obviously had been releasing games in America for like a decade at this point. There was no reason they couldn't have done it themselves. I don't know. Was there like a bunch of pack-in stuff with that game?
that's actually, I think, the only one that doesn't have like multiple different versions or variants or anything interesting like that. Like Dragon Force has multiple different discs, Magic Knight Rayearth does, and it comes with a bunch of stickers and different things like that. Albert Odyssey has multiple disc variants, and then Sega Ages, I think, also is a bit more on the basic side. So it's like they still have like cool like hollow foil covers and things like that, but they didn't have like extra goodies or different versions like the other RPGs that they worked on did.
Very interesting.
And for what it's worth, none of these games were actually really made by Workings Designs, just localized, so, and published.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like Sega being the console maker and just like, I don't know, such an important name, it is kind of an honor for them to get the Shining series, to get that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
There's 3 Sonic games. You know, you look at the Dreamcast, you got Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. You look at the Genesis, even Sonic CD came out on the Sega CD. You got even Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X. But what do we have here on the freaking Saturn? You have a port from a Genesis game, Sonic 3D Blast. Unless the Saturn one was first, I don't know.
I actually don't know. I don't know.
You got Sonic R. Don't even talk
All-time
to me.
great. All-time great.
And then you got Sonic Jam, which is incredibly cool, but it's not a mainline Sonic game. It's remakes. I was looking at the Wikipedia. You probably knew this already, but they remade 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles without having to use an emulator. It's really freaking cool that this exists.
And it has the really cool 3D overworld. That's like more fun than just playing the regular Sonic games, just running around and doing all these weird little mini games. It's so cool.
So that's pretty awesome. A great piece of history right there. But I don't know. I think it would have been a different story if we had a mainline Sonic on the Saturn.
Definitely. I mean, we were supposed to. It was in development hell for many years, and then it got canceled. So, and it's like anytime you look up footage of Sonic Stream, looked like straight ass. So it's kind of a good thing we didn't get it.
In total, if you want to purchase all 248 of these games, it's going to cost you $30,000. That comes down to $122 on average for the CIB. We're not talking about loose crap here. I know you see loose on the screen right now. It's just because it was included with the free data. There are 49 games at the $100 or more mark. That's a lot of freaking $100 games. If you add up the 49 games I just mentioned, it's $13,000 right there alone. $50 or more, 110 games. This is how I thought the Dreamcast was for some reason until we did that episode. I thought the Dreamcast was like this.
No, the Saturn is. It's funny. I mean, they both did comparably, but I think that Sega gave up on the Saturn faster, and in the Dreamcast they were really trying to do like one final push before their sinking ship sunk. So
Right.
I think there a lot of Saturn is just lower print because it's like they're just like they almost knew it was hopeless.
So now we got $122 as the average CIB price. The top game that we're going to talk about in a minute is $9,000. You remove that, the average CIB is really only $86. I think that's a much more fair way to look at it. But let's do it. Why don't we? I'll do the first five, and then you can
Sure.
take the other five. So from lowest to highest, top 10 games here. Winning Post. This is the only one I didn't look up. Is this like a horse racing game?
Correct. Good
Okay.
guess.
So Japan loves their horse racing games, and for some reason we got one here. And hey, guess what? It didn't do well, and now it's $357.
Ooh.
You just explained why House of the Dead is $397. It is one of the latest releases, I guess,
Yep.
despite being an incredibly loved arcade game. It just
It's fascinating. It's like, one of the most popular Sega games. And
Right.
It's very expensive.
Lunacy, is that a horror game?
Yes, and I also believe it's an Atlas game if I remember right.
Ooh.
So checks out.
I should have looked that one up. Lunacy is $398. This
Yeah, I'm
is
fairly certain it's Atlas.
definitely Atlas. Good call, Craig.
I know my shit, man. I know my Atlas.
That game's $398 right now. And then Saturn Bomberman, probably my most wanted game on the platform, just because I want to play it. Not a lot of games.
Ew.
He plays his games. This game's
Ew.
$450. I would be scared to play it, especially with 10 controllers hooked up to it. Like one
I
person
know someone's
steps
like,
on
oh,
it,
dang it.
scratched. Yeah.
Destroyed. Yeah, it really cool artwork too. Very, very. It's they say it's one of the funnest multiplayer games ever. It's just a shame that many people will probably never experience it.
That's what this console is all about. I think that's why the prices have remained so high. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of factors. It wasn't big. The console wasn't big here, and because of that, the games didn't sell well. But also, these games haven't been ported a dozen times. Everything's playable on Switch. These games are not playable on Switch. It's kind of crazy that like nothing has. I mean, of course, some things have been ported, but a lot of this crap has not made it anywhere else. Saturn Bomberman included.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Alright, so that was your 5, so let me do
I got one more.
my 5. Oh, do you? Sorry, I can't count.
Contra Legacy of War, number $526. This is on PS1. I don't know what's going on with this one's price.
I have absolutely no clue. I don't remember that game being so expensive when I collected Saturn, but maybe it never came across my radar. That's wild.
At least I think it's on PlayStation.
Next up, another game that's also on PS1 though, Mega Man 8 at $543. Then we have Burning Rangers at $580, Magic Knight Ray Earth at $900, the last game being released for this failed system that kind of checks out. Battlesport for about $900, which by the way, minus the outlier that we're gonna mention, definitely the rarest Sega Saturn game.
Right.
By far. And then Panzer Dragoon Saga at 1,160. But who knows? Next month this game could be $850 because it's just always fluctuating like crazy. But yeah, Panzer Dragoon Saga, very expensive game that I did play through all 4 discs. I was a man about it. I was, very scared every time I put the disc in and out. But I did play through it on real hardware, which is something that I think is fun that I could say that I did. My 5th favorite game of all time, so shout out to that. And then our outlier, Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition, Netlink Edition, $9,000. We notated, not sure how accurate the price is, considering it rarely sells, and that you had to call Sega and order this if you wanted it. It's super, super weird, super interesting release. It's insane, how rare and expensive this game is, and it truly is rare and expensive.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, I wouldn't get your hopes up, but you could get lucky one day, because often you'll find not CIB, but just the disc, and even just the disc can be worth a ton of money, and you would never know, I've seen, stories of people finding this game, in the wrong case before. So, like in the regular
Oh, wow.
championship circuit edition and stuff like that. So you never know. It's always worth looking. But it has like a purplish reddish disc, and it has the Netflix edition on it. But just incredibly weird release. And we talk about actually rare games, and this is an actually rare game for sure.
This is the crap I live for. I love my Marios and my Zeldas and all the common crap, but man, this is where video game collecting gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is the edge case I was talking about at the beginning, where it's like people might or might not count this towards the set. Freaking price charting counts it as a variant. And
yeah, most people that have a Sega Saturn set, they don't have this.
I bet.
Or, they claim to have a Sega Saturn set, they don't have this. And I don't really know where I fall. Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards it counts, but I don't know. It's like, I would love to have the Sega Saturn set. I love the system. I think it'd be so cool. But one of the reasons I wouldn't go for the set is because I wouldn't want to have every game but one, and it would always drive me crazy feeling like that I'm missing one piece, and I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't spend the money, and Lord knows I wouldn't find a deal on it. So
it's just like NES, man. You'd have 677 cartridges and just one away from stadium events.
Well, stadium events is a variant. We went over this, so
I'm starting to think that I'm leaning differently, and that's gonna affect my GameCube set, because that Midway game is gonna be a totally separate release.
I told you it has a different title.
Yeah,
Midway Arcade Treasures 1 and Midway Arcade Treasures are two different titles.
I'm starting to lean that way, and it's gonna affect everything. But that's a whole topic for another video, I'm sure.
I broke you when we did that episode. You were a changed man after we hit stop on record.
Yeah, and OGCIB was the same way in the chat. I mean, in the comments.
It's so funny.
I think this thing is incredibly cool, though. It's like Pokemon Box. You could only get it from Nintendo. You could only get... If you think about how many people love Pokemon and how rare that game is, like the Sega Netlink edition of Daytona USA, you're already talking about a minute group of people who care about the Saturn, who care about playing online, and who care about Daytona. I mean, the Venn diagram, it's not overlapping very much.
No.
I mean,
It's not.
I can only imagine how many of these were produced. And Sega cheaped out. They gave you this freaking black and white manual. Like, there's not even, like... They didn't need color because it wasn't going to be on the shelf to advertise to people. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're like, no one's going to buy this anyway. Just, print it out.
There's like 3 or 4 freaking Daytonas on the Saturn, I feel like.
Daytona's pretty fun, too. Can't lie. I love the really bad, cheesy music in Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 versions of Daytona USA. But, like, if that... I don't know. I want to say that the championship is just a variant of the regular Daytona, if you're going to go with that argument. But I don't actually know what they added or removed in those
I'm
games.
not sure either.
Yeah, other than that, that's a pretty straightforward set, except for Daytona, both in terms of price and in terms of like people arguing about what counts.
Honestly, I think it falls in that category just because people don't want to spend the money, which is kind of valid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't want Pokemon Box or the GameCube set either, but I think that more people just don't want to spend the money more than they actually don't think that it counts. That's just their way of justifying it.
Yeah. That I love the people that are like, yeah, I have the NES set except for stadium events. They're not like, oh yeah, stadium events doesn't count.
So you don't have the NES set is what you're telling me. Congratulations on not having the NES set.
Oh, I was gonna ask you to go into Battle Sport a little more. You said that game's actually the rarest. Tell me about Battle Sport.
I don't really know much about it, honestly, just that it very rarely pops up for sale, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's truly hard to find. Like, there could be days where you don't see it up for sale, so, and it's like any other high dollar value Saturn game, there's pretty much always copies available. Battle Sport's definitely more scarce than any of the other Saturn heavies.
I feel like I've definitely heard of it. Looks like it peaked last year at $1,000.
It's on the down. If you're everyone go buy Battle Sport now. It's your time.
I wrote down some interesting games here that I personally didn't know were high in value.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go through them. You can tell me if you've got any knowledge about them. But the first one here is Batman Forever. What the heck's up with that?
I have no clue because this one's been expensive for a long time. It's always been, a triple-digit game as long as I've known about it.
Interesting. Herc's Adventures, $235. What's the deal with that?
No idea.
This one was surprising. Every Bust a Move game is like dirt common, dirt cheap. Bust a Move 3, $150 almost.
I think it's just because it's a Saturn game. But probably also, could also be a little bit that Saturn was like the closest to arcade ports of, those kind of games at the time. So, and I'm pretty sure Bust a Move 3 was an arcade game, so maybe that is like the best version.
It probably was an arcade game first, I mean. This game, Rampage, is on PlayStation. It's on N64. It's dirt cheap, but on Saturn, $138. What's going on there, man?
I don't know. You got to pick it up, though. Famously, you're a really big Rampage fan. So.
What else we got here? This is a weird one. Valora Valley Golf.
I never even heard of this one.
This game is $110 right now. It's evidently a remake of a golf game on the Mega Drive called New 3D Golf Simulation Devil's Course. It's so common and important that it has its own... It doesn't even have its own Wikipedia article. It's really funny.
It's crazy.
I did look up some screenshots, and I read the Sega Retro bio for it. It looks like a pretty cool arcadey little golf game. You get to freaking play through a golf course inside a volcano. It's pretty neat. As fun as it looks, it's hard to believe that anybody wants to spend 110 on this. But...
I want to. This is so weird to me. Just the fact that there's like a random golf game that doesn't even have a Wikipedia article.
Right.
It's caught my attention.
We move on to Shinobi Legions because I don't love Shinobi. I haven't played a whole lot of Genesis Shinobi, but I would like to, and I had no idea there was a Saturn entry. You know about this one?
I know of it, but I'm not a big Shinobi person either. Don't know too much about it, so.
It's $102. Wasn't even published by Sega. It was published by Vic Tokai for some reason. I don't know what happened there.
So strange. I don't know. It's always strange when a first party game by, a console maker doesn't even publish their own games in certain regions. Very strange.
Galaxy Fight. This is a freaking anime cover art game. And it's developed by Sunsoft. It's a Japanese fighting game that they made for Neo Geo, AES, MVS, everything. And somehow this game's only $100. Like, that combination of factors should put this over the $500 mark, but...
I'm looking it up because I've never even heard of this. Let's see. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, how is this not, like $800 or $900? That's wild.
And it had a PlayStation
anime cover,
port.
a real anime cover on a 90s video game? That's always like...
Yeah.
The wildest shit. That's crazy to me.
This is the only version America got for home consoles. It was ported to PlayStation in both Europe and Japan.
I need to keep my eyes on this one. I had no idea about that.
That's a neat one. We have 2 Sega sports games here. I always think these are neat for some reason. Winter Heat and Steep Slope Sliders. Just like random sports games for $92 and $95. I've never heard of them.
No clue.
And it's published by the console maker. You would think there would be a high quantity of them out there, but evidently not.
I don't know. Everything about the Sega Saturn's an anomaly. So.
And then the last one here, I saw Dark Savior and immediately was like, oh, that's got to be part of the Darkstalkers series. Just like the font and the artwork reminded me of it, but no. This is a RPG published by Sega. Currently,
it's a super weird one too. It's like weird isometric action.
Currently
very
selling
strange, very strange game
for $95. It was developed by Climax Entertainment. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, so it's a weird game. I whenever I look at it, it kind of gives me agita. It's very strange.
Other than that, I have some import stuff written down here. Is there anything you wanted to throw in to the Saturn?
Not really that I could think of. It's a really cool obviously a really, really cool system. Very hard to afford the games. But if you are a weirdo that plays your game, Saturn emulation's gotten a lot better. A lot of the most expensive Sega Saturn games are really cool, like Magic Knight Rares, Panzer Dragoon Saga, Burning Rangers. If you could find a way to play these games, whether you import some Japanese copies because they're way, way, way cheaper, and a lot of these games literally have their scripts dumped online, translated into English, so you could kind of read along in your own way. Find a way to play them, because if you're a fan of video games, it's a lot of really cool stuff that's hard to experience otherwise. So, and if you have the money, I stand by it. It's still one of the coolest systems to collect for. So, blow all your cash on Saturn games. That's what I would do if I had a lot of money.
I think that was very well said. I don't know what the future collectability of this console looks like. People are being born every year. People are being born that have never experienced a Sega console ever. That's been true for I guess 25 years, but
yeah,
people didn't grow up with Sega consoles, and so that nostalgia factor for this era, even the Dreamcast, it's just it's not there. People don't have a reason to go back unless they just love video game history, like a lot of us do. They don't have a reason to care about the Saturn. There's no nostalgia there, and I think that affects it a lot. I think that affects its future collectability a lot.
I think you're gonna be hard pressed to find somebody below the age of 20 that's gonna ever care about collecting this kind of stuff. So I almost wonder if prices will eventually go down, just because the amount of people interested is gonna kind of keep waning over time.
Yeah. The one thing that Sega does that people love, no matter what, is Sonic. And nobody's clamoring for frickin' Sonic R or Sonic 3D Blast.
Hey, speak for yourself.
I think this is an incredibly interesting console because of how poor it did here, and because it's so beloved now. People wouldn't be dumping entire game scripts online if they didn't just really love this stuff.
Yes, people are very passionate for this system.
Right. A lot of important Sega franchises on here. We talked about Shinobi. There's a freaking Golden Axe game. I'm guessing that one sucks. It's probably a fighting game.
It's a fighting game, yeah.
But yeah. So import stuff. I have, Shmups. It's Shmup City over there in Japan on Saturn. You got Don Pachi, Cotton and Cotton 2. You've got the infamous, or not the wrong word, the ever loved Radiant Silver Gun. You got Gunbird. You got Thunder Force 5. People love their shmups. Those are just the ones that I heard of when I was going through this freaking Racket Boy list, but
there's probably at least 300 more. So Death Crimson's a really, really famous one too. So there's lots out there.
And then just other imports I wanted to shout out. There's a sequel to Saturn Bomberman that's not at all similar, but it's Saturn Bomberman Fight. And then of course Castlevania Symphony of the Night is better on PlayStation, but it's a lot different on Saturn, and it's super cool to own.
I was gonna say, I think most people actually say the Saturn version is better because it has added content.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then.
That's why it's so much more expensive too, and we didn't get it here, so it's a very expensive import.
Interesting. Any other imports you want to shout out?
Not really that I know of. Like I said though, if you want to play these games, importing is not a bad way to go, because most of these games you'll be able to find scripts online. So if you want to have physical copies of these games but you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars, maybe you just want to pay $50, $60, $70, go ahead and import yourself some Panzer Dragoon Saga. You won't regret it.
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with what you were theorizing there, hypothesizing. I think the prices are only coming down on these games eventually. I think less and less people are going to care, and obviously a lot of them haven't been ported. I'm sure it's only a matter of time until a lot of them do get ported. Konami's been insane with ports. I mean, I wouldn't even be super surprised if we saw Saturn Bomberman on the Switch 2, the PS5, whatever, down the road.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly possible. They've ported Nights into Dreams to different things. They have Panzer Dragoon on Panzer Dragoon Orta. There's exceptions. I think Radiant Silvergun even got a re-release not that long ago. So the companies are finding a way, even though it's not easy. It's just harder for certain games than others, unfortunately. So,
Well, I think that was a good little half-hour overview of the Sega Saturn in 2025.
let us know your favorite Sega Saturn game down below.
Yeah, there's really not much under the $50 mark in this console that you're going to be... it's similar to Dreamcast. Everything that's worth owning is like over $40 or $50.
Yep, that's the Sega lifestyle.
That is the Sega lifestyle. I feel like that's even true for a lot of Genesis.
It is. It is. And the Master System, for the 10 games worth owning on there. So,
Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, we'll see you guys in April for a couple more collective perspectives.
take care.